Sorry, Sheikh Muhammad Maliki.
You have to keep a key in your hand to remember me.
Inshallah. Excuse me. Okay,
Okay,
Bismillah.
Bismillah.
Yeah, got you. Sorry, Sheikh Muhammad Maliki. Okay, we're live.
Okay, Bismillah, Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulullah. Indeed, all praise is due to Allah. We praise Him and we send peace and salutations upon the Prophet Muhammad and upon his family and companions and those who follow them to the day of resurrection. We welcome you to another hour of power brought to you by Islam for Deaf and with our esteemed Sheikh who gives us his time for the sake of Allah, Sheikh Muhammad ibn Abdullah al-Maliki, joining us from the prophetic city. And tonight we are going to listen to part 14 in our series of protection from the fire, and that is with the topic preparing for the hereafter. So we ask Allah the Most High to open up for our Sheikh, and we ask him to open up for ourselves so that we can benefit from the words and the wisdoms that the Sheikh will open up for us. And I ask our respected Sheikh, فَلْيَتَفَضَّلُوا مَشْكُورًا جَزَاهُ اللَّهُ خَيْرًا.
Alhamdulillah, والصلاة والسلام الأتمان الأكملان على محمد رسول الله سيد الأولين والآخرين وإمام الأنبياء والمرسلين والشافع المشفع يوم الدين وعلى آله الطيبين وأزواجه الطاهرات أمهات المؤمنين وصحابته الغر الميامين ومن استنى بسنته واهتدى بهديه إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، حياكم الله أيها الإخوة والأخوات، أحييكم من مدينة رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم، من مدينة السلام، بتحية الإسلام. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Indeed, all praises are due to Allah. We praise Him and we ask Him to shower the most complete blessings upon the leader of the first of the creation, or the first of the leader of the first and the leader of the last, the one who will grant the intercession for the people who will be intercessed for. And we also ask Him to shower His blessings and peace upon His wives, the pure, good wives that He had, and upon those who follow them in goodness to the day of resurrection. And after this, I send you the greeting of Islam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. May the peace and blessings of Allah be upon you from the prophetic city, the city of the Prophet. Peace and blessings be upon him.
حديثنا اليوم يكون مختلفا نوعا ما، وإن كان هو في نفس سياق الأحاديث الماضية التي هي النجاة، أسباب النجاة من النار. فكل من نجا من النار فليس له مكان يستقر فيه إلا الجنة. وحديثنا اليوم هو للإعداد لذلك اليوم الذي ينقسم الناس فيه إلى فريقين، فريق في الجنة وفريق في السعير.
And the topic of tonight's lecture, while it's in some ways is different to the normal topics that we cover as relates to this series as a protection from or protection from the Hellfire series, it does have a link to it, and that is the topic of preparing for the Hellfire. And this is because we say that it's still relevant because the individual will be preparing to avoid the Hellfire such that their destination will be the paradise. And what we will look at is how to prepare for this day, the day in which the people will be differentiated and put into different categories, a category of the people into the fire and a category or group of the people into the paradise.
والأمر كما قال الله عز وجل في سورة آل عمران في الآية 185: فمن زحزح عن النار وأدخل الجنة فقد فاز وما الحياة الدنيا إلا متاع الغرور.
And the matter is, as Allah the Most High says in the Quran, in the 3rd chapter of the Quran, the chapter of the family of Imran, where Allah the Most High, he says that which means شيخنا إذ تصعدون ولا
فمن زحزح عن النار وأدخل الجنة فقد فاز. تريد الترجمة؟
لا بل أي آية شيخنا؟
آية 185.
طيب. بس where Allah the Most High says that which means
فمن زحزح عن النار وأدخل الجنة.
Then whosoever 185 or 30 80. So he who is drawn away from the fire and admitted to the paradise has attained his desire.
وكذلك يقول ربنا عز وجل في سورة غافر الآية 39: إنما هذه الحياة الدنيا متاع وإن الآخرة هي دار القرار.
And Allah the Most High says in the 40th chapter of the Quran, in Surah Al-Ghafir, that indeed this life, the life of the world, is nothing but an illusion or enjoyment. And indeed, it is the hereafter that is the place where you will be settled, or your place of eternal abode.
ولما سمى الله عز وجل في هاتين الآيتين الحياة الدنيا أنها متاع وأنها يعني متاع وأنها متاع الغرور، حذرنا منها في سورة لقمان في الآية 33 قال تعالى: فلا تغرنكم الحياة الدنيا ولا يغرنكم بالله الغرور، أي الشيطان.
And we see in these two verses that we have mentioned that Allah the Most High, he mentions or he refers to this worldly life as being an amusement or being an illusion. And for this reason, in the chapter of the Quran, Surah Luqman, in the 33rd verse, Allah advises and orders the people, do not be deceived by the life of this world, and do not be deceived in a general sense, i.e. deceived by the shaitan, by Satan.
نعم. والله عز وجل بين لنا أن الناس لا بد أن ينتهي بهم الأمر إلى أن يغادروا هذه الحياة الدنيا ويموتوا، فقال جل وعلا: كل من عليها فان ويبقى وجه ربك ذو الجلال والإكرام، كما أخبر سبحانه وتعالى عن ذلك في سورة الرحمن في الآية 9 في الآية 26.
And Allah, he has told us and informed us that it's absolutely essential, or it's guaranteed, that the lifespan of people in this world, it will come to an end, and that at some point they will leave the worldly life and they will die and perish. And this is indicated in the verse of the Quran, the 26th verse in Surah Al-Rahman, where Allah the Most High says that which means kullu man alayha fan, everyone who is upon the earth is finite and will die. وَيَبْقَى وَجْهُ رَبِّكَ ذُو الْجَلَالِ وَالْإِكْرَامِ, and the noble face of your Lord will persist and carry on, and your Lord's face is full of grace.
والناس جميعا يدركون أنهم سيموتون، لأنهم رأوا آباءهم وأجدادهم وإخوانهم ومن حولهم ماتوا، لكن ليس الشأن أن يعلم الإنسان أنه سيموت، ولكن الشأن في أن يعد العدة لما بعد الموت.
And this is something that all the people know, they have witnessed, for example, their fathers and those who came before them die and perish. So this isn't something new, and this isn't something that has due importance in and of itself. However, what does have due importance is the fact that the individual should prepare for their death and prepare for the inevitable.
كما أخبر سبحانه وتعالى أن الناس يوم القيامة سيكونون على فسطاطين وعلى قسمين وفريقين، كما أخبر في سورة الشورى في الآية 7 قال تعالى: وكذلك أوحينا إليك قرآنا عربيا لتنذر أم القرى ومن حولها وتنذر يوم الجمع لا ريب فيه فريق في الجنة وفريق في السعير.
And Allah the Most High, He has informed us that the people in the hereafter there will be of two factions, and this has been indicated in the 42nd chapter of the Quran, in the 7th verse, Surah Shura, where Allah says that, which means, and warn of the day of assembly, the day in which the people will be gathered, about which there is no doubt. A party of the people will be in paradise, and a party of the people will be in a blaze.
ولذلك قال بعض العلماء وبعض المتقدمين قال: تزود من التقوى فإنك لا تدري إذا جن ليل هل تعيش إلى الفجر، فكم من سليم مات من غير علة، وكم من سقيم عاش حينا من الدهر، وكم من فتى يمسي ويصبح آمنا وقد نسجت أكفانه وهو لا يدري.
And for this reason, some of the scholars, the scholars of old, they highlighted this point, and they advised the people to adorn themselves and dress themselves with consciousness of Allah the Most High. And the Sheikh mentioned a few lines of poetry where they advised the people, the scholars advised the people, prepare, because you do not know in the evening if you will be alive or you will meet the evening, and you do not know if you will reach an older age.
والله عز وجل قد قسم نعيم الآخرة وعذابها، قسم النعيم والعذاب في الآخرة، فجعل يعني العذاب والنعيم على الأبدان والأرواح، فللأبدان نعيم يوم القيامة وللأرواح نعيم، وكذلك العذاب، للأبدان عذاب وللأرواح عذاب، فينبغي الإنسان أن يحتاط لنفسه ويعمل لما بعد الموت. نعم.
And Allah has informed us and told us that He has prepared in the hereafter, He has prepared a punishment, and He has categorized the people in terms of those deserving this punishment and those who do not. And this punishment is something that will befall the souls as well as the bodies of the individuals. So for this reason, it's only befitting that we prepare for the hereafter so that we can protect ourselves.
ذلك اليوم الذي يضع الله فيه الموازين بالقسط بالعدل، كما قال سبحانه وتعالى في سورة الأنبياء في الآية 47 قال: ونضع الموازين القسط ليوم القيامة فلا تظلم نفس شيئا وإن كان مثقال حبة من خردل أتينا بها وكفى بنا حاسبين.
And on that day, or in the hereafter, Allah will make a criterion or scales, and the actions of the individual, they'll be weighed upon these scales. And Allah mentions in the chapter of the prophets, verse number 47, and indeed we place the scales of justice for the day of resurrection. So no soul will be treated unjustly at all. And even if there is the weight of a mustard seed, we will bring it forth, and sufficient are we as reckoners.
وقد أمرنا الله عز وجل أن نعمل طاقاتنا وجهدنا للإعداد لذلك اليوم، فقال الله عز وجل كما في الآية 18 من سورة الحشر: يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله ولتنظر نفس ما قدمت لغد واتقوا الله إن الله خبير بما تعملون.
And Allah, He has ordered us to prepare for this day, and prepare in the best way for this day. And He has mentioned in Surah Al-Hashr, the chapter of the exile, the chapter of the exile. He has told the people, fear Allah and prepare and look to see what you have prepared for tomorrow, i.e. meaning look to see what you have put forward for your hereafter, and fear Allah. Indeed, Allah is all aware of everything that you do.
ومن ما وجه الله عز وجل به للوقاية من عذاب الجحيم، عذاب السموم، ما صدر به سورة المؤمنون من الآية الأولى حتى الآية الخامسة. قال تعالى: قد أفلح المؤمنون الذين هم في صلاتهم خاشعون والذين هم عن اللغو معرضون والذين هم للزكاة فاعلون والذين هم لفروجهم حافظون إلى آخر الآيات.
And from that which Allah the Most High has informed us that protects us from the fire and the punishment of the hereafter is that which He has mentioned in the opening verses of the chapter of the believers, where Allah the Most High, He says that which means certainly the believers have succeeded or will be successful. Those who are submissive during their prayers, and those who turn away from ill speech, those who are observant of zakah, and those who guard their private parts. So these verses, the first 5, they show us some of the actions that the believers take to safeguard themselves from the fire.
لو تكملها إلى الآية 11، أنا قلت إلى آخر الآيات حتى أختصر لك.
No. So continuing on, so Allah the Most High mentions, and they who guard their private parts, except from their wives or those their right hand possess, for indeed they will not be blamed. But whoever seeks beyond that, then they are the transgressors, and they are those, or they are, and they who are to their trusts, and they who are attentive to their trusts and promises, and they who carefully maintain their prayers, those are the inheritors, who will inherit the highest pinnacle of paradise, the Firdaus, and they will abide therein eternally.
وعودا على بدء، فإن الله عز وجل بين لنا الحياة الدنيا ومن هم الذين يركنون إليها، وهم الكفار. قال تعالى: وفرحوا بالحياة الدنيا وما الحياة الدنيا في الآخرة إلا متاع، يعني إلا شيء يسير.
And Allah the Most High, He has explained to us, when we're going back to what we explained at the beginning, but Allah the Most High, He has shown us and made manifest the worth of the worldly life, where He mentions the attachment that those who disbelieve have to it. And He says that which means, and they are very, very happy, meaning those who disbelieve, with the life of this world. But the life of this world is truly worthless.
ومما حذرنا النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم من مسببات الشقاء في الآخرة أمر يتهاون فيه كثير من الناس، ألا وهو اللباس بالنسبة للرجال وللنساء.
And from the things that Allah the Most High has warned us to be attentive of is something that the people can be quite negligent about. And this is males and females, and the thing that we are negligent about is clothing.
ومن ذلك ما يقع من الرجال من الإسبال في ثيابهم، وقد قال صلى الله عليه وسلم كما في الحديث ما أسفل من الكعبين ففي النار.
And as for that which relates to the males, then what they fall into is the wearing of undergarments like trousers, etc., that fall below the ankles. And this is in Arabic called isbal. So wearing of trousers or undergarments that fall below the ankles, this is a sin due to the statement of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, that which is beneath the ankles is in the fire.
وكذلك ما ذكره النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم عن النساء لما قالت أم سلمة رضي الله عنها يا رسول الله إذا تنكشف المرأة، لما قال يعني ما أسفل، ما قال إزرة المؤمن إلى أنصاف ساقيه فإن كان ولا بد فلا حضر الكعبين في الإزار. قالت أم سلمة إذا تنكشف المرأة، قالت ترخيه شبرا، قالت تنكشف، قالت ترخيه ذراعا، يعني تجعله بهذا الطول تحت قدمها حتى لا تنكشف.
And this is similar to this, or there are similar rulings as relates to women. And Salama, when the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, advised the believers to raise their garments, she asked him about the women. And the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, advised her, then the women should let their garments flow a handspan below their feet. And then she said, but if we were to do this, we would reveal where we walk, where we move, we would still be able to reveal ourselves, meaning our feet would be seen. So then the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, okay, so then an arm span, let it be below the foot by an arm span so that you will not reveal yourself.
ومما أيضا حذرنا منه النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم مما يوقع المرأة في العقاب يوم القيامة ويوقعه في النار عدم الاعتناء بالوضوء. فقد جاء في الحديث مخرج عند البخاري من حديث عبد الله بن عمر رضي الله بن عمرو بن العاص رضي الله عنهما قال تخلف النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم عنا في سفرة سافرناها فأدركنا وقد أرهقنا العصر، يعني أوشك العصر أن ينتهي وقته، فجعلنا نتوضأ يعني بسرعة بعجلة، نتوضأ ونمسح على أرجلنا، يعني لم يغسلوا أرجلهم، مسحوا مسحا ولم يكن عليها جوارب ولا خفاف ولا نعل. فنادى أي النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بأعلى صوته فقال ويل للأعقاب من النار مرتين أو 3 مرات، محذرا من ترك الاعتناء بأعضاء الوضوء.
And from those things that will put the people into problems in the hereafter and gain them punishment is they're not taking care of the limbs that they wash during wudu. So we must wash our limbs when we make wudu properly. And we benefit this from the hadith reported by Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As, who said that he traveled, and this was a narration reported by Imam Bukhari. And he said that they traveled with the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. And the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, he had prayed Asr and they were late. And then they went to quickly make wudu so that they could join, or they could make the Asr prayer in its time. And in their haste, they wiped over their feet, meaning they didn't wash them properly. And upon this, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, he raised his voice and he said, woe unto the ankles from the hellfire, meaning wash your feet properly, and those parts of your feet that you do not wash properly, then they are from the hellfire.
وعند مسلم من حديث أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم رأى رجلا لم يغسل عقبيه، يعني غسل الرجل ولم يغسل من الخلف، فقال ويل للأعقاب من النار، يعني ويل لمؤخرات القدم التي لم تغسل من النار. وهذا يدل على أن ترك أي جزء من أجزاء الوضوء ولو كان يسيرا دون الاعتناء به دون غسله إن كان من المغسولات أو دون مسح إن كان من الممسوحات، فإن هذا يبطل الوضوء وبالتالي تبطل الصلاة، وبالتالي يكون الإنسان معرضا للعقاب يوم القيامة.
And it's been reported in the authentic collection of Imam Muslim on the authority of Abu Hurairah, may Allah be pleased with him, who said that the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, he saw an individual make wudu, and when they washed their feet, they didn't reach the entirety of the back of their foot. And the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, woe unto the ankles of the hellfire. So he said this to him, and this indicates that whatever part of the body that is supposed to be washed during wudu is not washed, then it leaves the individual open for punishment. And that's because their wudu is not correct, and then in turn their prayer is not correct, and then in turn they are deserving of punishment.
ومن الأخطاء الواردة في الوضوء أن بعض الناس مثلا إذا غسل وجهه وله لحية فإنه يغسل سطح وجهه هكذا ولا يغسل ولا يخلل الماء في اللحية، لا بد من دخول الماء وصول الماء إلى البشرة أسفل اللحية.
And another common mistake in the prayer, I beg your pardon, in the wudu, in the ablution, is that when the males wash their faces, they do not put their fingers and rinse water through their beards. So they will only wash their faces, but they do not enter their fingers with water into their beards and allow all the water to penetrate as it should.
وبعضهم إذا تمضمض أو استنشق فإنه لا يستنشق بمعنى يجذب الماء إلى الداخل ثم ينثره، وإنما يجعل الماء هكذا في طرف أنفه دون جذب ويكتفي بذلك، وهذا لا شك أنه مخالف.
And also in addition to this is when the people make the madmada and the istinshaq, which is the taking in of water through the mouth and the nose. When they take the water through the nose, they don't actually suck the water up through their nose. What they do is they just wash the surface of their nose, and the water does not actually clean within the nose. So this is something, again, that is not correct in the wudu that the people make.
والبعض إذا غسل يديه يغسل من المعصم إلى المرفق ولا يغسل الكف والأصابع، على اعتبار أنه لما جاء للوضوء غسل كفيه، وهذا غير صحيح لأن ذلك الغسل سنة، وغسله من الأصابع إلى المرفق هذا واجب من واجبات الوضوء.
And another error is that when the people go to wash their arms, they'll wash their arms from the wrist to the elbow. And what they will say that the washing of the hands that they did initially at the beginning of wudu, it suffices them from washing their fingers and their hands again. But this is not correct, because this first initial washing is a recommended washing. So the first time when you wash your hands, so the tips of your fingers to your wrist, this is recommended. And then afterwards, when you wash the rest of your arm, you should wash from the fingertips to the elbows. And this is the ghusl, or this is the washing that is obligatory for you to do during the wudu. So you must do it from the fingertips to the elbow.
وأيضا من الأخطاء أن كثير من الناس يغسل يديه وأصابعه مضمومة هكذا ولا يخلل بين الأصابع، وكذلك القدمين، يغسلونها هكذا دون أن يخلل بين الأصابع لإخراج ما فيها من أوساخ.
And another error that the people make in wudu is that when they wash their hands, they just wash them with closed fingers. So they will just rub their fingers. However, what they should do, they should they should wash between the fingers. So yes, like Tom is showing, you should wash between the fingers, and likewise between the toes. When the individual is washing their feet, you shouldn't just pass water over them. Rather, you should clean in between your toes so as to clean properly.
وكذلك مما يقع من الأخطاء عند مسح الرأس، فإن بعض الناس يكتفي بمسح مقدم الرأس هكذا ويظن أن هذا يكفي، والواجب أن يمسح إلى الوراء ثم يرجع إلى الأمام ثم يضع أصبعيه السبابتين في الأذنين ثم يجعل الإبهامين من وراء ثم يرفع إلى فوق وينزل إلى أسفل.
And another mistake that the people make is that when they wipe over their heads, they only wipe over the top of the forehead. So they would only do the first bit. So they would wipe just the top of the forehead. A little bit higher top. Yeah, that's it, Tom. Rather, what you should do, you should wipe all the way to the back and then bring it back all the way to the forward, to the front. So you go backwards and then forwards, and then after this, you place your index finger of each hand into your ears, and you clean the inner part of your ears, and with your thumbs, you clean the outside of your ears, rubbing it up and down, up once and then down once. So you clean the inner and outer part of your ear.
وكما أن ترك أجزاء من أعضاء الوضوء بلا وضوء بلا غسل أو مسح بحسب حالها، فكذلك إضافة أعضاء إلى الوضوء أمر ممنوع شرعا. فالبعض يمسح مع رأسه يمسح الرقبة ويعمل هكذا، وهذا ممنوع شرعا لأنه لم يثبت عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم.
And as we have said, when you leave off washing or wiping something in the ablution that should be washed or should be wiped over, it's an error. Likewise, if you were to add anything or add another limb to the ablution, it's also an error. As we see, some of the people, they wipe the back, the nape of their neck. So after they wipe their heads, they'll wipe the back of their neck, the nape. But this is an error and this is a mistake because it's not authentically established on the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, that he did so.
وأيضا من الأخطاء ما يفعله كثير من الناس في الإسراف في الماء، والنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قد قال في الحديث: يكون من أمتي أقوام يعتدون في الطهور والدعاء، يعني يزيدون على ما جاء عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. والذي جاء عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه يغسل الأعضاء إما مرة مسبغة أو مرتين أو ثلاث، أكثر شيء يكون 3 مرات. والماء لا يزيد يعني كان النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يتوضأ بالمد، وهذا هو المد مجمع الكفين، ويغتسل ب4 أمداد بالصاع. فلا ينبغي الإسراف في الماء ولو كان الماء وفيرا ولو كنا في البحر، وهذا من الأخطاء التي تجري يعني على الناس. نعم.
And another mistake or error that the people fall into when they make the ablution is that they waste water. And the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, indeed, there will be a people from amongst my nation who will transgress. They will go overboard and go over the boundaries as relates to making dua, making supplication, and as relates to making the ablution. So when the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, used to make the ablution, he sometimes would suffice with just washing each limb once. And the most complete or the most times that he would wash them would be 3 times. And when he did so, he would wash, the amount of water he would use was a measure that was back then called a mud. And the mud, this was a measure which is as much as your hands can take in water. So if you cup your two hands together and you bring them together like this, that's a mud. And then when he would make ghusl, he would make ghusl, which is the greater form of ritual ablution. It's like a bath. He would do so with 4 of these muds, with 4 amdad, 4 of these handfuls of water.
وبعض الناس يأتي بأشياء ليست من سنة النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم في الوضوء، فيأتي بأذكار أو أدعية وقت الوضوء، كيقول مثلا عند غسل الوجه يقول اللهم بيض وجهي، أو عند غسل اليد اليمنى يقول اللهم اجعلني سلمني كتابي بيميني، وهكذا. فإن هذا كله من البدع ولا يجوز ويضر صاحبه ولا ينفعه.
And this notion of us being economical with water, this is applicable in all times. Even if you are in the sea or by the ocean, we still do not waste water or transgress as relates to how much water we use. In addition, the errors that the people fall into when they make wudu is that it's not from the example of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, to make supplications or specific invocations whilst making wudu. So whilst making the ablution. So for example, some people, when they are washing their face, they will make the dhikr, they will make the remembrance, or they will make the dua, the supplication, oh Allah, illuminate my face. Or for example, when they wash their right hand or their right arm, they will say, oh Allah, make me of those who receive their book with their right hand. These supplications and these invocations add nothing to the wudu, and they were not done with the Prophet, by the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him.
وأهمية الاعتناء بالوضوء تكمن في عدة أمور. الأول أن الوضوء الصحيح يجعل الذنوب التي ارتكبها الإنسان قبل الوضوء تسقط مع قطرات الماء. نعم.
And there are a number of things that can indicate the importance of making wudu to us. The first of these is that an individual's sins, they fall and they are shed by the droplets of water that the individual uses when they make ablution.
وأيضا أهمية العناية بالوضوء أن الوضوء يكون نورا للإنسان يوم القيامة.
In addition, the ablution will be a form of illumination for the individual on the day of resurrection.
وكذلك فإن الوضوء هو الأمر العلامة التي يعرف النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بها أمته يوم القيامة.
Also, the sign through which the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, will know his nation by on the day of resurrection is a sign or something that's on their bodies due to their having made wudu.
ومن الأمور الهامة في العناية بالوضوء هو أنه إذا قدر على الإنسان أن يعذبه الله يوم القيامة بسبب ذنوب ومعاصي عنده ولا يخلده في النار من أجل التوحيد، فإن النار لا تحرق مواضع الوضوء، فلا تحرق وجهه ولا يديه ولا قدميه ولا رأسه ولا أذنيه، فلذلك ينبغي الإنسان يعتني بهذا الوضوء.
And if it happens that the individual will be punished in the hereafter and that they will be put into the fire for a limited period, then the fire will not touch those limbs that the individual used to make wudu with or on. So those places where the wudu was made, the fire will not touch. So it's important for us to take care over this wudu and making this wudu. نعم شيخنا.
لكن لا ينبغي يعني عند العناية بالوضوء أن نتجاوز السنة فنزيد في العدد أو نسرف في الماء أو نأتي بأقوال وأذكار لم ترد عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم، بل الواجب والصحيح والمطلوب منا هو أن نفعل هذه العبادة كما فعلها النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم، وهذا هو المنجي لنا والذي يكفل لنا الأجر العظيم، وأن نكون يوم القيامة من الفائزين. أسأل الله أن يجعلني وإياكم منهم، والله تعالى أعلم، وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه.
بارك الله فيكم شيخنا. So it's not befitting and it's not right for us to go over bounds. Despite the virtues of wudu, we do not go over the bounds as relates to it by increasing the number of times we wash. So for example, we wouldn't wash more than 3 times. We wouldn't increase the limbs that we wash, and nor would we introduce or increase the supplications or the acts of remembrance during making the ablution. Rather, what is obligatory upon us is to follow the example that has been laid down before us by the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. And this following and this obedience, this is the thing that will save us on the day of resurrection. And may peace and salutations and blessings be showered upon our Prophet Muhammad and upon his family and companions to the day of resurrection. Jazakum Allahu khairan wa baraka fikum shaykhana. Allah reward our Shaykh immensely for benefiting us with these words.
Jazakallah Shaykh. I'm just someone's signing questions over to me, but I'm asking them to text it to me instead. So it's I can just read it out and I don't get it wrong. But while they're doing that, I was contacted during the week and asked if we can do a talk about, as well as this one, preparing for the hereafter, which is just as important. I think they wanted to have some questions about Jannah, about some encouraging questions about how it's like, what can one do, which you've already talked about today, mashallah, jazakallah, to get there. I mean, what we elaborated on today is it was protecting yourself and doing things the correct way. But in regards to any descriptions of Jannah, I know that's a lecture in itself, but if there's anything that you can briefly mention, then that will be we'll appreciate that, inshallah. Jazakallah. Did you get that, Akil?
Yeah, I got it. شيخنا أحسن الله عز وجل إليكم. نعرف ونعترف أن هذا يستحق محاضرة مستقلة، لكن لو أعطيتمونا بعض أوصاف الجنة بارك الله فيكم.
والله أنا أفضل أن نجعلها في محاضرة مستقلة إذا أرادوا الأحد القادم أو حتى قبل ذلك، لا مانع، لأن أوصاف الجنة تحتاج إلى تحضير من حيث الأدلة، لأنها غيب، لا يصلح أن نتكلم في الغيب بما ينقدح في أذهاننا.
So we ask that we can put this back so that we can deliver a dedicated lecture on this topic, because this is a topic that deals with some of the matters, or a matter from the matters of the unseen. So for this reason, it's something that would require some preparation, and we're happy to do this next Sunday, or if there is a convenient mutual time at some point before that.
Inshallah. Okay, we'll try and see if we can pencil that in for next week or the following week, inshallah. Okay, as you know, it's a very interesting times we're living in. A lot of people are going through lockdown, depression with work and finances and this, that, and the other. If there's any encouraging words which the Sheikh can finish us off with, inshallah, just to help build back up the spirits and encourage the people to hold on to the rope of Allah, inshallah. And how's the best way to do that? How many times should they read? If there's any particular surahs, what you can read when you're feeling depressed and things like this, which can help. raise one's iman. If the Sheikh can finish off with some encouraging words or any descriptions of what one can do, also which surah you can read, what du'as you can make in times of depression.
شيخنا بارك الله فيكم، هذه الأوقات أوقات التضييق أو ضيقة، ويكثر فيها الهموم والحزن، فهل لديكم من توجيهات إسلامية وتشجيعية لنا حتى ندفع هذه الهموم والغموم إلى آخره؟
أولا هذه الحالة التي نحن فيها هي من أقدار الله عز وجل، والله عز وجل إنما يقدر الأقدار لخير للعباد لا لشر لهم، فهذه الأقدار تجعلنا نتفكر في أمر الدنيا والآخرة وفي أمر أنفسنا. نعم.
So firstly, we find this situation that we are in, this is of course by the decree of Allah the Most High. And seeing that this is the case, there is, or in the decree of Allah, there is goodness for the slaves in it. And it's not something that Allah would decree for evil or for badness directed towards them. So for this reason, we should think very carefully about the situation that we're in and ponder over it, because it's from Allah and it's ultimately something which we believe will be good for his slaves.
وهذه الظروف التي نحن فيها من الغلق والعزل وهذه الأشياء التي يبقى الإنسان فيها محصورا في بيته أو في بلدته لا يخرج، تذكرنا بحالين للنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم من أعظم حالاته صلى الله عليه وسلم.
And this condition that we find ourselves in, where we are locked in and we are in lockdown, where the individual has to stay in their homes, this reminds us of a situation or two situations that the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, was in. And these are two of the greatest situations he was in, peace and blessings be upon him.
الحالة الأولى تحنثه صلى الله عليه وسلم في غار حراء قبل النبوءة، قبل أن تأتيه النبوءة، فقد كان صلى الله عليه وسلم يذهب إلى غار حراء، وهو غار على رأس جبل عال جدا مشرف على مكة، وكان يذهب وحده ويبقى في ذلكم المكان معه طعام وشراب، يبقى فيه أياما يتعبد ربه ويتفكر في ملكوت الله حتى يرجع على نفسه بالفائدة، وهي تزكية النفس التي لا تكون إلا بالخلوة والبعد عن الاختلاط.
And the first of these two conditions is when the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, he used to go to the cave in Hira. He used to go there and worship Allah alone. And when he would go by himself. And you should understand this cave, it's a cave that's very, very high up. It's in the mountain. So he used to go there by himself, and it's a mountain that's in Mecca. He used to go by himself, and he would stay there for a number of days. And he would take his food and he would take his things with him. And over this period of a few days, he would think and carefully consider and ponder over the wonders of the creation of Allah the Most High. And he would return and go back with a benefit. And that benefit was that he would have purified his soul, and he would have cleansed his soul. And this is something that cannot be done when you mix with the people too much, or you are mixing with the people. So this solitude, it was beneficial for him in this manner.
والحالة الثانية هي ما كانت منه صلى الله عليه وسلم بعد هجرته إلى المدينة، فإنه صلى الله عليه وسلم كان في رمضان من كل عام يعتكف 10 أيام في مسجده، لا يكلم أحدا ولا يخالط أحدا، وإنما يتفرغ لعبادة ربه وذكره وتسبيحه. وكان يأتيه جبريل كل ليلة من ليالي رمضان يجلسان فيتدارسان القرآن. فكم نحن اليوم بحاجة إلى أن نرجع إلى كتاب ربنا، نجلس ولو عن طريق النت في البيت مع من يعلموننا القرآن. والحمد لله اليوم هم كثر، ورئاسة الحرمين في المملكة العربية السعودية قد جعلوا يعني مواقع وتطبيقات مباشرة مع معلمي القرآن من المسجد الحرام ومن المسجد النبوي وبشتى لغات أهل الأرض، فيعلمون الإنسان كيف يقرأ القرآن، وأيضا يستطيع أن يتعلم معاني القرآن. فنحن بحاجة إلى الرجوع إلى كتاب ربنا، قراءته أكثر وقت ممكن، فإنه لا شيء مثل القرآن يعالج من مثل هذه البلايا والنوازل والقضايا، وكل نكسة ونكبة ومصيبة فإن القرآن هو سر علاجها. لذلك نحن في هذه الأوقات نحتاج أن نصنع كما صنع النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم، نتفرغ للعبادة والذكر والدعاء وقراءة القرآن بكثرة جدا. نعم.
And the second of these conditions was after his migration to Medina. After he migrated to Medina, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, every Ramadan he would spend the last 10 nights in Ramadan in the masjid in the state called i'tikaf. And i'tikaf is the state in which the individual stays within the masjid. And when the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, did it, he would not talk to anyone, nor would he mix with anyone. Rather, he would dedicate himself to recitation of the Quran, and he would dedicate himself to worshipping Allah the Most High. And when he was in this state, peace and blessings be upon him, Jibreel, the angel Gabriel, would come to him every night, and he would recite Quran with the angel Gabriel. And if we look and think and contemplate over our condition today, how much we are in need of reciting the Quran and learning the Quran and dedicating and secluding ourselves with the Quran. And with modern technology, it's a blessing from Allah that we can sit in our homes and we can connect via the internet to those who can teach us and benefit us about the Quran. And in Saudi Arabia, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia have set up a number of websites, and there are websites connected to the Haramain al-Sharifain, to the two noble harams, the Meccan and the Medinan haram, the holy mosques. And on these websites, there are dedicated teachers in a plethora, a great number of languages, who can teach you the Quran, and they can teach you about the meanings of the Quran and how to recite the Quran and the meanings behind the Quran. So the individual can benefit in this manner even from their homes. So we should return to the Quran and focus upon its recitation, because within the Quran and its recitation there are cures and remedies for all of these ills and matters that we face in this time, and it's a cure in and of itself. So we should recite the Quran as much as we can during these times, and we should make lots of dua to Allah the Most High.
وأما ما سأل عنه من الدعاء، فإن أعظم الدعاء هو ما علمنا الله عز وجل في كتابه العزيز، كما في آية سورة البقرة في الآية 200 101 الآية الأولى بعد 200 من قوله عز وجل ربنا آتنا، قوله سبحانه وتعالى ومنهم من يقول ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. فمن أعطي حسنة الدنيا أعطي كل خير، ومن أعطي حسنة الآخرة أعطي كل خير، لأن حسنة الدنيا هداية في الإيمان وسلامة في الأبدان وطمأنينة للجنان، وحسنة الآخرة هداية إلى الصراط وثبات عند المرور عليه ودخول مبكر إلى الجنات وارتفاع في أعاليها. فهذا أجمع دعاء يدعو الإنسان به ربه، فنسأل الله أن يجعلنا ممن أوتوا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة ووقوا عذاب النار. وإلى هنا نختم، والله تعالى أعلم، وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه.
شيخنا بارك الله فيكم، كلمات جميلة جدا. شيخنا أكرمكم الله، لو عدتم إلى الهداية الحسنة في الدنيا يفيدنا
نعم.
الهداية في الإيمان
نعم، هداية الإيمان وسلامة الأبدان وطمأنينة الجنان القلب يعني.
جزاكم الله خير وبارك فيكم شيخنا. So one of the best and most encompassing supplications that we can make is that which Allah the Most High has taught us in the Quran, and that's in the 2nd chapter of the Quran, the chapter of the cow, where Allah says in the verse number 201, but among them are those who say, our Lord, give us in this world that which is good, and in the hereafter that which is good, and protect us from the punishment of the fire. The supplication, رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. So when the individual asks for these things, goodness in this world and goodness in the hereafter, they're asking for a great deal of good, and they're asking for the best in the two lives that they have. So in terms of the goodness in the life of this world, this is asking for a great many things, including guidance to faith, guidance to Islam, good health in one's body, and assured or tranquility in the heart. So this is the goodness that's encompassed in the life of this world. And the goodness in the life of the hereafter, it refers to them being guided, or the goodness on the sirat, on the path or the bridge over the hellfire, and establishment upon crossing that bridge. And then it asks, through this supplication, the people ask for goodness in the hereafter, meaning that they will enter the paradise. And after entering the paradise, through this dua, the people will ask, or it benefits the people, that they will be raised in rank in the paradise. So there are a great deal of goods or of benefits brought about through this dua. So just in very quick summary, in the life of this world, it will enable the people to be guided in their faith, to have good health, and to have tranquility in their hearts. And in the hereafter, it will enable the people to be able to traverse or cross the bridge that's over the hellfire and be firmly established in that crossing. It will enable the people to enter the paradise, and it will enable the people to be lifted for their statuses in the paradise, to be lifted and elevated. So we ask Allah the Most High to give us in this worldly life that which is good, and to give us in the hereafter that which is good, and to protect us from the punishment of the fire. And may Allah send and shower peace and salutations and blessings upon our Prophet Muhammad and upon his family and companions and those who follow them until the day of resurrection. جزاكم الله خير وبارك فيكم شيخنا.
الله يحفظكم ويبارك فيكم. جزاكم الله خير. جزاك الله خير. Tom, thank you very much.
Akil, Sheikh, Jazakallah, and Tom, thank you again. And inshallah, we'll continue next week, Sunday, same time, same place. Jazakallah khair. If anyone wants any more information or more lectures in sign language, visit islamfordeaf.co.uk. Also, you can support the cause on there as well, inshallah. Okay, Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Thanks, Tom. Jazakallah khair, Shaykhana.